on to episode 20 of The Inside Word. My name is Lachlan McLean from Beer Cartel, Australia's #1 craft beer retailer. We're here in 2020 for our very first episode, and as we get to the start of the year, it's Hottest 100 time. So we're going to do a bit of a roundtable discussion around the Hottest 100. I'm joined today, I've got one trade person, and I've got kind of consumer-based. I've got Kane from Garage Project, the Sydney rep. Thanks for joining us.
Not a problem.
So before we kind of go into the Hottest 100 and what you think you're going to see, how'd you get into craft beer to begin with?
Well, I'm originally from New Zealand, and when I left New Zealand, the craft beer industry was just, what we consider the new age craft beer industry was just taking off. I came to Australia, lived in Rockhampton for about a year and a half, and really didn't really drink craft. And then I came to Sydney and then ended up working at another retailer where I met Liam from Batch.
Yeah.
He kind of took the approach of, you teach me about wine, because I was massively into wine at the time, and he was going to teach me about beer. And by the end of it, there was a little bits of wine talk and more about the beer.
Yeah.
And then just kind of fell into a role with Stockade, where we had a really fantastic year. We brought out the Mountie, Old Money.
Yeah, OG Old Money.
OG Old Money.
That's a good beer.
Where my colleagues were waxing the top of the bottles. We could only get one or two bottles as staff allowance. Now I think about it, I should have held onto those bottles for sure. But,
absolutely.
And then from there, I did a little bit of a stint at Rocks Brewing, where I helped out Simon and the boys really do a bit of a kind of transitional period. And then I got the role at Garage Project, which is, I'm still a fanboy.
What dreams are made of.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every day I still pinch myself of like, we're doing that? Sure, let's do this. Yeah, and it's great to wake up every day and be excited about what you do.
Awesome. So kind of wanted to get a couple of people in to talk through the Hottest 100. I want to get someone from the industry, so thanks, Kane, for joining us. And I also want to get someone to give the consumer opinion of the Hottest 100. So I've got Isaac Esposito. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yo, what up? And thank you for saying my name correctly.
Excellent.
Yeah, nice work.
How long have you been into craft beer for now?
Craft beer. So it kind of probably started back maybe 07, 08, kind of the Dan Murphy's 10 for 10,
Days.
Yeah, those were the days, man. Go there and you have no idea what you're looking at and what you're drinking, and you don't know your pale ale from your lambic. Like, it's just, yeah, that's it. Not even that. So started on there. I think Bee's Knees was probably my gateway beer. Sort of Bay, old school Bee's Knees. And then kind of around that time, the craft beer scene around the inner west of Sydney was picking up. We had like Henry's and Batch and stuff like that. Kind of moved into that, and then went to the US for about 8 weeks with my wife. 2017. That was my trade-off for having a kid. Yeah, so I got to go to the US for 8 weeks, and she got to have a baby, which I obviously lost out. I now see, but yeah, so we did that. Did about 50 brews in the US, and then I came back to Sydney, and it was just downhill from there. It was just
50 brews.
Yeah, it's drinking everything and anything, and kind of it's a very it's a very easy hobby to get.
Absolutely. To
find yourself engrossed in. So yeah.
So Hottest 100 comes around every year. What I asked the guys, and I've done it myself. So we wanted to do kind of got our top fives. We wanted to kind of talk through why we chose them, and a bit of discussion of why we chose them, and kind of what's been going on in the industry. And then we also did our predicted top 10s, just to see how we go, see whether we can get it right, but also just to just discuss kind of what's going on in the industry over the last year. It's been a big year, I think, for Australian craft beer. It's growing and growing and growing. I think it's had a lot of positives. It had some not so good things go on, and it's just a way of kind of to talk through some of those ideas and just kind of see what's kind of happened. So I'll throw it around the table, but before we kind of go through our top fives, what have you made of 2019 in the Australian craft beer scene, Kane?
I've really liked being a bit on the back fence Garage Project made a beer with Mountain Goat this year. It was a lot of fun. I love collabs, even when it's just being a fan and going to an event and trying two breweries working together and showing the passion, the reason why we do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like seeing the rise of where Boulder is today, seeing the inner west craft beer market really just keep growing. The likes of a lot of crowdfunding this year, which has been really interesting to see. Would I put money into that? I don't know. I like putting my money into retailers.
Spending money.
I feel I get value out of it. I get a bottle at the end of the day or some really nice cans.
Yeah, I know for me, like the 2019, everyone kind of says it's this, the next year you're going to see us hitting that peak point. So many breweries are opening, and there's not necessarily the people coming into craft beer at the same rate as breweries are opening. But I'm always amazed that we get to the end of the year and there hasn't been this massive doom and gloom of, all these breweries shutting down.
Yeah.
Every year, I think for the last 3 or 4 years, we've always said we're hitting this peak time. I know that stuff through the IBAs and all these kind of market awareness, I think we are still growing. I think this year was definitely a year of the top breweries maybe possibly coming up, some breweries standing out from the field.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think something like, I know Quiet Deeds, Range.
What a year for them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Some breweries have really kind of stepped out from the pack. And from Quiet Deeds, who would have seen them in 2018 getting to where they were now?
Yeah, being the biggest hype brewery in
the
the Australian market.
It's gone crazy.
But they're doing it the right way.
Absolutely.
They really care about the product, even to the fact that the way it's brought into New South Wales.
Yep.
Obviously, Quiet Deeds probably could post about it, but I even believe when the product's old, they even are willing to take that on their shoulder. Like that is a big thing. And in America, we see it all the time. It's like fresh is best, and I think 2019 has really kind of been that. Is that now yourself been more of a punter than both of us, Isaac, is that fresh is best, and we hear it all the time in the trade.
Yeah, I think so. It's I think back to what you're saying, Lachlan, with the market just exploding over the last probably 2 years and kind of thinking, when's it going to stop? There isn't much room for error, especially when you look at these these hop forward beers. There's, especially when you look at your haze, you kind of juice bombs. You don't, you've got canning. You can get a bit of oxidation from canning. You can get old hops. It's expensive. They're expensive to make, and I think owning those mistakes is a big part, because it can 100%. Be. We've seen it with other kind of hop forward beers before. If you don't take that feedback on board and you don't try and make up for your mistakes, it can be the end of your business. Really,
I think consumers. Look, we obviously deal like Beer Cartel, and I know yourself being like especially higher end stuff, and Garage Project being producing top level beers as well. But consumers have less of a tolerance for substandard products.
Absolutely.
But also
people know better as well. I think the market's more educated. They know better. Consumers
are also, that's how we know this quite well over the recent time. Consumers are also really, are really open to mistakes when you own the mistakes and you do it properly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, we just got to look at Black Ops this year.
Yeah, like we obviously know from Beer Cartel, it was a tough little while for us, but consumers, by owning the mistake and what went wrong, it definitely, I think consumers got behind it. And I think from a brewery's point of view, you see, I think Other Side in WA did a hazy IPA and literally did turn out hazy, and they kind of made it into this great thing, and it sold out for us.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, because they were like,
hazy in the can.
Did we just not forget to put it? Did we just stuff it up, or did we leave it in the tank for just owned it? Yeah, it was great. So I think from the industry, it was good for that. What did you make of 2019?
Look, this 2019 was for me. I'm a big Farmhouse fan. That's probably my true love. There was some really, really good Farmhouse beers coming out of the market. For me personally, call me biased, but I feel Farmhouse is one style that Australian brewers are doing that's comparable to high-end breweries in the US and Canada and parts of Europe. Like we're really making some ground in that space. So I mean, Black Arts came out of nowhere, dropped their gold, which was like a 3-year-old barrel aged sour.
I agree. I would say
just
that
a wicked beer.
Farmhouse and barrel aged sours, not kettle sours, but actual farmhouse sours, is what Australia does best.
I think so. That's my opinion.
I would say that the number of breweries in Australia that are producing high quality farmhouse wild ales in 2019 just exploded.
Yeah, and like La Serene's on fire, man. Like the guys down in La Serene, their avant-garde range, like it was they just kind of put out one seasonal thing here and there, and now every month they have this just killer barrel aged sour.
That's exciting. I know you've got to have the kettle sours and those kind of intro sours, Berliner Weisses and whatnot. That will kind of get people onto sours, but for me it's so exciting to see people kind of progress onto the wild ales like Tommy the Tall, La Serene, Black Arts, Future Mountain,
Dollar Bill,
even Wildflower's had some great releases this year, man.
Wildflower. I think Wildflower. I think you can talk about later. I noticed in your top 5, but one best alcoholic drink in Australia.
Another was Beverage Period, wasn't it?
Is it in all of our?
I think we've all got Wildflower, but
maybe.
But just crushing it. So like. I think 2019 for me definitely was the year of the farmhouse and wild ales in Australia.
I'm hoping that this year is like we see the transition out of like hazy beers being the hype beer and like beer de coupage being the new hype beer. You can only dream, like.
But back both expensive beers to make. So, you know what? If we're going to go on that particular part of the train, like, sure, let's just keep making more really expensive beers.
I think just coming back to that as well. I think what's really cool is that we have a market to sustain these farmhouse breweries. The style is now becoming more popular. People understand how it works. I mean, people are excited for these styles. These beers are selling out, and it's a really exciting time for the Australian craft beer scene. It's really cool.
But that's also on the back of the fact that there's more people drinking craft than there ever has.
Yeah.
So people are drinking core, which is the bread and butter of any brewery.
Yeah.
So then they have the money to be able to go to that next step of, a barrel age program. Wayward have started their one this year.
Green Beacon did their stuff. Like,
so it's
really good. Like,
it's exciting time.
You can walk into any bottle shop now, and you've got the Green Beacon.
That's actually a good point. I forgot about them. Yeah, they're really easy drinking, kind of like entry mid-level kind of barrel age programs.
There's a lot of really good stuff going on.
Very approachable beers.
Especially really good for me, like, if you were to give someone, some of the really funky Brett bombs, having gone from a kettle sour, like a Berliner Weiss or whatever, to give those sort of,
horse hay
really
kind
good.
of.
Yeah, really good next step.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I'm like, you're not going to give someone who's only ever had like a session ale, here's your 10% double IPA. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So like for every beer, it's dark beer and everything. It's always got to have those steps. But on that, Isaac, what was your top 5 for 2019?
So my top 5 for GABS, yeah?
Yeah, so we're going to
talk about that too.
We're going to talk about that after. We'll go around top 5s, but what was your top 5 that you voted for in GABS?
Sure, okay. So I'm looking at, I'll just bring it up like this. Sorry, guys. My whole phone is just turned off. Did you want to start?
Yeah,
okay. Thanks, Kane. Sorry, man.
No, that's all right. Well, mine's actually a bit of a story, the reason who I voted for this year. Garage Project this year, we did a festival, Happy Fest, which is all about, the celebration of hops. We had the privilege of having so many awesome breweries around the world come to Wellington. I actually had the privilege to hang out with the guys from Range from Brisbane. What
a great year they had.
Oh, man, I'm the biggest fanboy, and I want to see those guys in, they definitely won't be top 10 this year. I would love them to see that. I'd be up on the stool dancing if I see, especially the Amarillo Mosaic IPA. I was in Adelaide where I saw them the second time, and they were like, try this. And as you do when you're at a beer festival, everybody likes to share their beers and show each other what's the latest thing. And I just couldn't drink anything else. It was so delicious. It's really well balanced. They got 3 of my top 5 beers for the year.
Wow. So what were they? The Amarillo Mosaic.
The Amarillo, the Simcoe, the Citrus Simcoe, so the double IPA, and then Information Disco.
Yeah, right.
Haven't had Information Disco. I've had the other 2 off the tap of the brewery. They're nice, very approachable.
They make them well.
Yeah,
well.
nice, easy drinking, clear, crisp.
I'm sure people don't like to be, like compared to another brewery, but if I was to compare range to anybody, it would be Cloudwater. Like I feel that the Cloudwater of Australia, they care about the way the beer comes into the market. You know, they're not in every single bottle store as much as we would love to see them here in New South Wales.
Yeah, like I have lost track in how many times I have messaged them and tried to get them down here.
Yeah.
Look, it's a combination, I think, of they don't have the product they don't have the amount of product, and they don't need to. And also, they're just really, concerned with like the supply chain of how it gets here. And
exactly,
sort of
and I think that's the big thing for 2020. To talk a bit about the future is like, how can we continually grow that part of the market of, I remember when I first started in the craft beer market, there was a brewery which had on the back of their label, treat this like milk. And it was in a bottle, started with K.
No, someone was talking about this the other day online. I saw that.
But anyway.
Oh, it's Henderson.
Was it Brew
no, it was Brew Cult.
Oh, it was
Brew
Cult?
It was,
oh, wow.
It was Brew Cult.
Hendo. It's awesome.
Stuck with you.
Yeah. Like, it has. It stuck with me, and now working at Garage Bridge, we really care about that as well. And, when I say to people who are like, I really love range, and they're like, I can't get it. It's like, well, the reason why is, like, this is, it's about making sure it's getting to you fresh. And I've talked about that already. And then after that, Beer Farm, Asami Woi, that it's sweet fruited sour. I think that's the key to the sour market of growth is these fruited sours. It is delicious.
Is it Beer Farm, you said?
Yeah, Beer Farm.
They're the barrel project from down in Vic, are they?
No.
WA. Sorry, that's
yeah. And then after that, it's Wildflower, the Gold Blend.
Nice, yeah.
Good beer, man.
Great beer.
Beautiful beer.
My hat goes off to Topher. He's had a fantastic year. Best, beverage in Australia.
Yeah, we'll get to that one.
And anything he does, excuse my pun, for the beer I voted, turns into gold. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to see what else comes out for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing we might talk about a bit later. I'll definitely note for the Hottest 100. Kind of entertaining. We always get a bit of amusement out of it. But whenever they announce it and people are like, "Oh, Wes, how's that number one? This beer was so much better." And I think people got to understand, Hottest 100 is a popularity contest.
Yeah,
it is not a best rating. You're not getting judges who top level industry people. They're not voting for it. It's anyone can vote for it. And as you said, you'd love to see range there, but they're not going to be there because they don't have the supply. Yeah. They're not making enough beer so people can vote for it. I think that's a key thing, which is why we're going to talk about our top 10s later, what we think will be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always a funny thing when you see, how is that in there? And, this barley wine that was barrel aged for 10 years was so much better, but, they only made 5 bottles or there was 1 keg. How is that not in the top 5? But yeah, it definitely is a popularity contest.
But I want to see the guys at Range sitting around their, bar eating pizza and to have 2 or 3 beers in the Hottest 100. Make their day.
I would almost bet, I put money on it that they will be in the Hottest 100. I don't think they'll be in the top 50. Yeah. They once again don't make enough beer. And I think also, bit like Quiet Deeds, where they make a lot of good beer, so votes get spread across different beers. We'll talk about it a bit later. But yeah, Isaac, what was your top 5?
Okay, cool. So, first beer for me on the Hottest 100 was Primavera, which is a canned saison from Ocho Brewing down in Launceston, Tasmania. So Stuart Grant is a little brewer.
Gotta love a canned saison.
Man, I love a canned saison. How good for summer. So this beer it's a very dry kind of crusher style saison, very spicy. And it's dry hopped with Rawaka and Waizi. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Both New Zealand hops.
Both New Zealand hops. So New World hops. So what you're getting is a very dry, spicy saison. With you getting some barnyard funk. It's a mixed culture saison. Sorry.
Yeah.
and you're getting a lot of passion fruit and lime. Like soft, it's soft, but it's there from the hops. So they were just over summer, like that's the best beer, man. He's doing some wicked stuff, Stuart.
It's one of the few
Canned
styles
saisons,
that is
man.
hot fermented, yet we don't make much in Australia. It always baffles my mind.
Yeah.
It's one of the few beers that you can brew that you don't need climate control.
No, you can let it
You know,
run.
in Saison de Pont, I think they often have found that they're fermenting post 30 degrees.
Wow.
It's like, why are
Yeah.
Saisons not
You're
beer in
looking up
Australia?
there, 27, 30 up there.
Yeah.
They run hot, but that's just... And I like the price point as well. Price point is really important to me. Obviously, I'm a consumer. I think they're about $4.80 a can in a case. They're about almost 7% ABV, smooth, and just... I can stack them in my outside fridge. I can go and smash one outside, one with a barbie. My missus has no idea. And then I can bring one in.
Now.
She does now. It's all public. Yeah.
I can crack another one inside, have one for dinner. It's just refreshing and just a beautiful style of beer. You know, it's so cool to have in a can because traditionally we'd get saisons in, 750ml format. And you don't always want that much beer. So second one for me, we're looking at Piper Pit, which is the Venom Brewing collab with Deeds.
Mm-hmm.
Good IPA, good hazy beer. It's just juicy, fruity, bomb.
Yeah, for me, like that's...
Wasn't too sweet as well. I kind of find with a lot of haze beers, a lot of Australian brewers want to up the lactose, and they're really sweet. And I think we are stepping away from that a bit. Wasn't too sweet. It was a nice beer.
It was definitely, I think, having spoken to brewers as well, where some hazies in Australia, they focus on making the beer hazy, opposed to focusing on the haze being a byproduct.
Yeah.
So if you go to all the great hazies from America and from New England and whatnot, it's hazy as a byproduct of the methodology.
Sure.
Of the hopping during fermentation, during the protein rate. It's not hazy.
It's not
that's
the
what we're trying to make it as. So, I think it's better now. Like back when we were first trying to make hazies, 2 or 3 years ago, you're hearing those stories of adding few like flour, fruit purees just to make it hazy, opposed to the methodology and the brewing technique of getting it hazy. So I think the Viper Pit and the range and that are definitely, it's a byproduct of the way they're making it, not as we're trying to make a hazy IPA.
Look, it was pretty tasty.
It's a good beer.
I don't care how they make it. It was just tasty. We've got St. Phoebe, which is my third. So Wildflower, big fan of Wildflower. Topher's really brought something really special to the Australian craft beer scene.
And that is the beer that we were talking about, that one
before.
best
I did look it up before. It's
Australian drinks
Yeah.
award, something along those
Do you know
lines.
the other thing, Fred? So from my point of view is
Drink Easy Awards. Sorry, it's
Yeah.
called the inaugural Drink Easy Awards.
he hasn't just brought that type of beer into the eyes of just the punters. It's actually made drinking craft beer in fine dining restaurants.
100%.
And like a thing that you're willing to do. I speak to fine dining restaurants every single day, and you ask those questions. They're like, "Oh, what do you like to drink?" And the amount of times you hear the word Wildflower come out straight away, it's great.
Yep. And I know I came from wine before, just like you. I've always said that in craft beer, there is this untapped market of high-end wine drinkers. And for me, Wildflower or Lambics or those sort of styles are the perfect styles to get these high-end wine drinkers. I've got a couple of customers that I've been working on for a while that have, Three Fonts, mine and Gaston is their go-to beer now, like over wine. Buys it by the case, loves it. Kevin, if you're out there, this is, thank you. But
I got to be friends with your customers.
Yes, that's not working. But wine people that can come over to it, and I think this is really untapped market. It made me so angry when working in wine where you can drop stupid money on bottles of wine. $10,000 on a bottle of wine. Oh shit! I need some beer. Give me the case of Peroni. Wildflower and those sort of beers for me have got such potential to get into those wine people as well.
Yes,
definitely. I agree with you 100%. It's just there is this middle ground between wine and beer and Tova and other Australian brewers are bringing that. So people aren't aware. St. Phoebe is a
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing with Topher as well. His ethos is about keeping it local, keeping beer to a time and a place, and New South Wales is his place. And yeah, that's right. Great beer, kind of soft juiciness, soft berries from the raspberry. Kind of get that clean, that nice acidity from the gold. Just a really refreshing, really nice beer. Great beer.
And that Drink Easy Awards was beer, wine, and spirits. So
Yeah.
I think it was all alcohol beverages, and it won. Across all wines
It's a
as
beautiful
well.
beer.
Yeah.
It's in some ways it's very simple, but in other ways it's just so complex and just a beautiful beer. So next we have it's an older beer, but I like this year's vintage. It's the Wolf of the Willows, the Lark Barrel Aged Imperial JSP, the porter.
That was great.
I like whiskey. I'm a whiskey drinker, and I'm not a big fan of heavily peated whiskies personally. I don't want a little bit of smoke, but I was quite hesitant to try this, and it was great. It was a great body for a porter. It was quite soft. You're getting all that kind of vanilla and spice and chocolate from the whiskey barrel from Lark. Great distiller. Very smooth. Great. Very easy to drink. Just a good beer. And lastly, I'm sticking at old school for this one. Well, not really old school, but Sonic Prayer. Sonic Prayer is just, I know Modus is probably not as hyped as it used to be, but when I go to a bottle shop and I just want something to smash, and I can go in, I can get a can, Sonic Prayer, you get it's all those New World hops, you're looking at, it's that pineapple, passion fruit, kind of very floral hops. It's just an easy drinker, and I like it. And I do think it's a good beer still.
They made the right decision of going to a smaller can size.
I think so, yeah, absolutely, man.
It's much more, much more accessible.
Yeah, definitely.
And the big trend in life now is like, how can we be more healthy? And drinking an 8% 500ml can. Like every single day of the week. When you're trying to write a business model, it's pretty hard to forecast with.
I know what we found, is people would buy a single can.
Yeah.
Also from a business model, from a sales point, people buy a single can when it's 500 mils. Yeah. When it's a smaller cans, you buy a 4-pack.
Yeah,
for sure.
Beer.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. And they're just, they've just stepped up this year. I personally think, but I think Boulder has taken a lot of that IPA craze, haze, a bit off those guys.
They did exceptionally well this year.
I was saying, Modus are also another brewery that we're talking about freshness and cold chain and everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
In Sydney, I can't speak for other states, but for Sydney, they've got their own truck, and it is a cold van truck, and they deliver everything cold chain. So
I've never heard anyone complain of old Modus before. I mean, I like to read a lot of the forums and Facebook groups and stuff, and that's one thing that I've not heard is someone say like this is an old kind of skunked can of Modus. It doesn't happen.
Their sales staff, I know their Queensland rep and their Melbourne rep, and they're really hardworking people, and they really care about what they do, and
care about their beer as well.
They really care about their beer. So, and it's not the starting point. Obviously, beer's the starting point, but from a sales perspective, when you've got people on the ground like they do, it's it makes the difference.
Absolutely.
And their beers, the core range is very approachable.
Oh, sure.
I mean, I think it's easy to lose kind of sight of that when especially with the hype craze of hazies, but
they've also got a really well-rounded core range. Like a lot of breweries, one of my criticisms is that they've always made beers that in their core range that are too similar. So like a pale ale, an XPA, and IPA, it's kind of like, well, do you really need that pale ale and XPA?
Yeah, sure.
Because I don't think you're going to get someone that buy one or the other. Well, in Modus, you've got all very, very different beers.
Sure.
You've got the pale ale, you've got their session ale, you've got a porter, you've got an 8% or 7.8% red IPA, and you've also got their and Sonic and their IPA. They've got all their beers kind of are targeting different people.
Yeah,
they're not. You're not kind of having two beers where people would kind of buy either of them. For me, that's kind of the thing. Is like, would you buy that pale ale if that XPA was there? Yes, or you probably need that other one.
Yeah.
You're just taking sales from yourself and making All right, my top 5. I also had Wildflower beer. I had the St. Henry, which is the peach sour. Once again, I think that's a flick of a coin of which one you liked.
What vintage was it this year? Apricot this year, wasn't it?
Oh, it might have been apricot.
Yeah, this year's vintage is... No, sorry. It's apricot last vintage.
No, it was peach this year.
It was peach.
It was
White
apricot
peach.
every
My
year.
bad.
Yeah. It has been apricot every other year, but he couldn't actually get
Still
apricots.
beautiful, but yeah, they just because of the drought, I think it was,
You
maybe.
couldn't get apricots, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm a sucker for peach. I love it. So, once again, though, Phoebe or any of his Waratahs, so many beers, the Hive ones that came out recently, so many beers you could choose from.
Henry just ages really well.
Henry was great for me.
You just to pull that out of the cellar after 12 months, it's just so juicy. The acidity is perfect.
Yeah.
It's just a really...
And Tofu, if you're out there, I know you've just had a new kid, but I think everyone also... Walter, I think it is.
Walter,
so I hope we're all seeing Walter is coming out soon. We're all excited by that. Yeah. Hopefully we'll not... I think I've heard some rumours, but of what it might be.
I asked him, I pressed him about it, and he wouldn't tell me.
So we're all excited for that. But yeah, I had St. Henry. I also had Deeds. I had Viper Pit as well. Once again, I think that was a number that you could have just flipped a coin. Viper Pit for me. I had another brewery that had a stunning year that I think took themselves from the pack was Mr. Banks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. Cake Eater was so
their Cake Eater, they had 3 different versions of that went great for us. And fantastic beers. For me, I had a bit of a soft spot for their Playground Insults. Which
another
was
good beer. I like that too.
Yeah, that's kind of their... It's not super hazy as the other ones. It still had...
It was kicking it more back to the West Coast style, wasn't it?
It was somewhere... It was kind of like a juicy double IPA, kind of somewhere in there.
Juicy, resiny, kind of a bit piney. I have a soft spot for that sort of style.
What's the new term everybody's been using? Well, we're using it, DDH.
Double dry
hop.
Yeah,
it's a thing.
I think you talk to brewers and like, double dry hopping every beer for 6 years. Yeah, that's the marketing term. Mr. Banks for me had a great year. Really kind of elevated themselves in the pack. I had Hawker's, perennial favourite, especially in their barrel aging. Their bourbon barrel aged imperial stout this year.
It's good stout.
Are they the biggest barrel aging program in Australia?
Them or Boat Rocker, I'd have.
Yeah,
it could be either or, but they're
no
for
idea.
me.
Yeah, no idea, guys.
For me, it was the first Australian imperial stout. So barrel aged ones, because you put a barrel of bourbon. Beer in a barrel that kind of loses body. It was the first one that kind of had some real thickness to it. And also, for me, the big kicker was the price point it came at. I know Boat Rocker and Ramjet, there's all these other really good ones that kind of sit in around that $20 for a 330ml bottle, or $50, $50 for a big bottle. This was, I think, $25, I think we were selling it for a 500ml bottle, 13.2%.
Wow.
It was delicious.
I had it also. It was nice. It was a nice stout.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think sometimes we lack body in Australian stouts, and it was a good price point, it had good body. It was warm, it had a bit of heat from the ABV, and
it was really well made.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I had a Stone and Wood. So I remember I was talking to people, and I had a bit of a punt in 2018 saying that Stone and Wood was my brewery to watch for 2019. I didn't know they were going to release their Counterculture series, but for me, they started doing pilot batches of Stone and Wood and whatnot. And I'd always said Stone and Wood make fantastic beers. Can never criticise them in terms of quality. Every single brewery, I swear to God, you talk to, the brewer has either come from 3 breweries, and it's Mountain Goat, Holgate, or Stone and Wood. So they've got the systems and processes for brewers to go into. They've just never really targeted some of the middle to higher end craft. And for me, when they did a little batch of Sticky Nectar in 2018, and then they canned it in their Counterculture range this year, I had a soft spot for that beer. Love it.
Yeah, when I'm out in the trade and I see the reps as well, they're the nicest people.
Absolutely. They're lovely. And they've got the brewery, they've got the kit. If you've never been to the Stonewood Brewery up in Byron, it's absolutely amazing. Go there for Festival of the Stone in the middle of the year. Best festival I've ever been to.
And their Brisbane venue just opened.
And so, So they for me, they were that brewery that were kind of the sleeping giant of craft beer in Australia, where everyone knows Pack Ale and it's their intro, but they never really brewed that next kind of steps to keep people on their brand. And now they're doing it, and we can't sell enough of Counterculture.
Awesome.
So that's my top
Forest
5.
is Stonewood as well.
What was that, sorry?
Forest of the Trees.
Kind
It's not, is
of.
it?
It's Brad Rogers. So Forest for the Trees was a line that came out a year ago, roughly.
Yeah.
That was Brad Rogers, who's the original Stone and Wood head brewer, one of the three co-founders.
Okay, so it's gone up by himself.
Yeah, but it's still under the Fermentum. So Fermentum's the parent company. So you got Fixation also, who are all owned by Fermentum, but it's not a subsidiary of Stone
So
and
it's
Wood.
the acoustic album of Stone and Wood.
Yeah, pretty much.
Forest is good. Just when you're talking about keeping people kind of who are transitioning to that mid to kind of high level craft beer.
Great, I love it.
Yeah, it was nice. The barrel aged version was really tasty.
We just got in there Flemish Red as well.
Yeah,
top stuff. Really, really good stuff.
What a style of beer.
Yeah.
I guess we've done a top 5, but one thing I think we'll touch on is in the Hottest 100, you can't necessarily vote for every beer. So how it works is that breweries have to submit what beers they want to vote for, and I think you can recommend a beer, and the brewery still has to submit it. So this year, for the first year, I think I noticed that the Hottest 100 has become a little bit of a marketing ploy for some breweries where they haven't necessarily submitted all the beers, because instead of getting 5 beers where you get 1,000 votes each, you try to drive those votes to one beer so it gets high up the ranking. And I thought I know Kane's top 5 is unchanged. However, for myself and Isaac, we had a couple of exceptions to our top 5 that I would have probably voted for.
Yeah, definitely.
What were your couple of highlights that you couldn't vote for?
Look, man, I mean, I think a big one for me was some of the 2 meter tall beers.
Yeah,
actually down in Hobart. I mean, the Punto, which was I'm trying to think now. That was the Pinot Noir grade barrel aged sour. That was
really, really small release.
Yeah, very small. That was incredible. So you basically that was brewed. I think that was brewed for Arrogant Sour Festival actually, and they did a small release.
Italian Sour Festival.
Yeah. So basically, it was just you had like super sweaty fresh fruit. You had berries, spicy vanilla. It was basically like someone had dumped a whole bunch of fruit into a Derwent ale, which is another. Derwent ale is another amazing beer.
That was for me, like when my 2 meter tall, one of my top ones was his sour pumpkin ale that he released. That we didn't know really what to expect sour pumpkin, but it was just funk and it was just delicious.
It had great body. It was that was another great beer. Black Snakebite. I mean, we're looking at like other beers like La Serene. La Serene have just pumped out.
So La Serene, just to put out there, they only submitted their Urban Pale and their Citrus Sour.
That's right. Which is 2 of their 3 cans. 3 of their 3 cans. Yeah.
For me, so they released their first. The beginnings of the Cool Ship series, I think. So
yep, it's the first one of a spontaneous.
So it's called spontaneous, open, big metal.
A cool ship. It's called a cool ship.
It is a cool ship, but how do you describe what it is?
So it's basically. You're right.
No. I'm just saying if the brewery to point it at is Cantillon.
Yeah, Lambic. It's full Lambic. That's how they do it.
Oslam, as we call it.
Yeah. It's as you'll see in pictures. It's these big open top containers essentially. And all kind of naturally fermented, but it's called The Beginning. And it's the very first Cool Ships, 100% spontaneously fermented beer they did, and for me that was just absolutely stunning.
It was in French oak barrels. You had like this really nice kind of sweaty stone fruit kind of thing going on. That was The Beginning was a really good beer, really great beer. So that I had like some of the stuff in 2 minutes tall. La Serene, Convergence was just knocked the ball out of the park. So Convergence was a saison aged in I forget the type of wine. It was Puncheons. Yeah, no, it wasn't Pinot. It was I have to double check, but that was
Chardonnay, was it?
No, it wasn't. I can look it up after. There was that
Chardonnay and beer.
Yeah.
Highgrove Hills.
What's it called? Could have I had a mind blank. La Serene's Chardonnay. Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome as well.
Yeah.
La Funk was a 5-year barrel aged beer aged on mandarins. You had this super juicy kind of soft mandarin, but heaps of Brett Funk and oak and just another cracker of a beer. I noticed that Topher's Hive Gold wasn't on the list either.
That was just co-fermented with or re-fermented.
Re-fermented on honey, New South Wales honey. That was just basically had. It just gold transcended. You had kind of all the characteristics of gold you would expect. So like kind of big, kind of nice acidity, dense head, You had kind of very citrusy kind of flavors on the nose and palate, but then you had this very kind of soft, syrupy body that you get from the honey. So it kind of almost tricked your brain into thinking that you could tell there was honey in there, very soft honey on the palate. It was just a really, I mean, to think we're making beers like this in Australia is just, it makes me so happy. It's such an awesome beer. What else was there? Black Arts. Man, Black Arts came out dropped a 3-year-old barrel-aged golden on
No
us.
one knew who they were. They didn't come out and say, yeah, we're putting out this. They
That
were
was
like,
just
boom, we're starting
bam.
a 3-year-old.
And I was like, and you had this beautiful gold, very kind of sweaty,
Bit
citrusy, quite acidic. It was. I wouldn't age it personally, but it was just a killer sour. And the price point, I think it was $30 a bottle. I think it was.
Yeah, a bit about that, possibly a bit
Imagine
less.
starting a
Less
brewery
maybe.
like that and thinking about, like, what's the first beer we're going to... I don't know, let's wait 3 years.
Yeah, great business model, mate.
Yeah,
Let's spend all the capital on the barrels and that, but we're not going to actually make money for another 3 years.
Yeah, so that was another beer that was on the list that I couldn't vote for. It's just
Dollar Bill.
Dollar Bill. They're not on
Dollar
the list.
Bill, yeah, great. There's so many good breweries, especially the Tank Farmhouse. But yeah, I guess we kind of have talked about our favourite beers and what we voted for. But what we wanted to do also is, as we said, it's popular vote. So we kind of want to have a stab in the dark of what we thought the top 10s would be. And kind of, there's been some big industry news that's kind of gone down, some sales, some other things that have gone on, and how they might affect it. But to start with Kane, we'll discuss kind of after it. If you just want to go through, what's your top 10?
Okay, I've kind of listed where I think they're going to be, but I definitely know that at least the top 5 breweries that I've picked will be in the top 5 in my eyes.
Don't know necessarily the order.
Don't know. I think Stone and Wood, Pacific Ale. I'm out in the trade all the time, and everywhere you go, you see Stone and Wood kegs.
Yeah.
It's on tap, even at those places where old mates drinking VB at 11 in the morning.
CUV and Lion Taps.
Yeah.
Still a Stone and Wood tap.
I reckon this is Young Henry's year to make number 2. I don't think they're quite number 1 yet, but they're definitely aiming for that point.
Newtowner?
The Newtowner,
for sure.
It's consistent. Their marketing, like the whole thing, what they've done with the bushfires, the whole algae thing for climate change.
Yeah,
everything they're touching for 2019 and coming into 2020, they're turning into gold.
You go to the brewery on the weekends and it's pumping.
Oh,
they've got music going, and there are people that aren't probably big on the craft beer scene, but are just having a bad time. They just put out good vibes. And
they're one of the very few breweries in Australia. I'd argue Stone and Wood have also done it, but have connected with their community.
Yeah, massively huge.
They're not just another brewery. They are, those people the people that go there are also invested into what Young Henry's is. Not necessarily that beer, but what Young Henry's is about.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that kind of describes at least the top kind of 5 beers. It's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah,
like for us, it's a hobby and a career. But for that general punter who's like, going to vote for these kind of top 5 beers, this is, where are they drinking this beer? They're drinking this at the pub, or they're drinking this with their friends. Like, oh wow, I've just discovered craft beer. Stone and Wood's that, Young Henry's that. I even think Bensburg Crankshaft kind of fits that vibe a little bit too. Like, it's definitely a little bit more pointy than probably the rest of my top 5. But Richard is a fantastic brewer.
Yeah.
Turns all those beer into gold for sure. They've just continually to grow every year. I think Boulder would be my next, so that's it's my number 5. I think it'll drop a little bit.
We'll get to that. I think we've all kind of opinions on that one.
Then Kaiju Crush. They had to do a little bit of a label change with the big box bottle stores, but it's still smashing out there. When I was in Queensland, I was doing a beer festival, and the line for Kaiju was insane. And then I still think Jedi Juice, as much as it probably we didn't see as much as we did for 2018 in the market. I think with the whole publicity about the label, good publicity, bad publicity. Does it really matter? It does matter for your core beliefs, but people were talking about the beer. Everybody loves the beer, so people get behind it.
Awesome. Top 10?
And then Boulder Haze is, I think, that's my number 7. I still think they're going to do really, really well. I think Black Hops is going to be my number 8. And we'll talk about that type of the reason why they're in the top 100. Beechworth Pale Ale, they've always been in the top 10 for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years. And then number 10 was the hardest for me. It was between Cluster 8, Little Dove, New World Pale Ale, or Former Tenant. All three, apart from Little Dove, but Little Dove is obviously, that's a whole region where we don't live in Perth. I'm sure that's a big part of the reason why they're there, but they're also in, they have stadium deals in Perth. They also, it's a consistent.
Got the Perth stadium deal.
Yeah, and they're still consistent. Like that beer, when it's on tap, you can drink it and it tastes great. Yeah. Cluster 8, wow. It's one of those beers which broke the internet a little bit.
Sells out every time it comes in.
Always.
Yeah. And then Former Tenant, the successor going to a 335ml can. We should see some results.
Yeah, I agree with that. I hadn't actually considered the Modus can size change, but that will, I think, definitely play on people's minds.
Yeah. So,
Isaac, what's your predicted top 10?
Top 10. So I'm going to go with the Stone and Wood. Pacific Ale number 1. Like you said, it's everywhere. It's kind of what you drink if you're a bit over kind of the Squires 50 lashes.
Yeah.
It's that transition beer. It's just well made. It's easy to drink. It's very, very approachable, and it's everywhere.
It's one of those beers where I always say that you'll open it and then you'll look down and you're like, I've only had half, and now you've had all of it. It's gone before you realise.
It's always fresh. It's always well made. It's consistent.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to get, and that's what people want. Number 2, I put in the Boulder Hazy.
Right.
Look, I know that people's opinions have changed, potentially a Bolter with the sell-off, but reason I've chosen that for number 2 is at GABS last year, about half an hour before it starts, they allow people to go in and kind of get a table, get set up, meet their friends, just to make it a bit of an easier transition to get in. I was in there, and half an hour before the bell had rung, there was like a 40-minute wait at the Bolter stand.
Yeah, right.
It was like 20 people deep with 6 lines. It was nuts. People like Bolter. Their customer service is great. Their beers are well made. They're consistent. They're fresh. They're easily accessible. And I feel like that Bolter, just from what I've read, hasn't probably received the backlash that other breweries have received from selling in the past. So I kind of feel like they're going to be a fan favourite still,
Yeah, I've got them pretty high up. I think they might have. I don't think they've suffered sales wise at all. I think they're going to improve massively with access to more taps. I think maybe, especially as you only vote for 5, not your top 10, they might have just slipped a little bit. But still,
they may surprise us. They may. I feel like they'll still be a strong vote. Number 3 is Newtowner. Pretty much what you heard before. They have good community vibes. People like them. They're easily accessible. Young Henry's is very, very strict with beer, like the quality control.
Yeah,
they have ridiculous. Their lab is nuts, and I've seen that their beers are coming out the same way every time. You know what you're going to get. And
so the house I live in, I moved into the room of the guy who used to run the lab. His VB. VB. He's an awesome guy, and he's working for a used company now.
He's gone to Littlemans.
And he's awesome. He is so structured in the way he does everything. When I moved into the house, it was full on garden. He's all about permaculture. He cares about, if he cares about that in the backyard, what he puts into, the lager when he first took over, it went leaps and bounds.
To put their lab into kind of perspective, for the TAFE brewing course that's got released a couple of years ago, when they send the students to breweries for placement, they go to Young Henry's for lab. Yeah, that's the reason they go to. They send everyone through Young Henry's, and it's to do the lab. Not Stone and Wood, not Mount and Goat. They go to Young Henry's. So Young Henry's, they were at. I think most people probably know they don't actually brew all their beer at Young Henry's in Newtown. No. They were brewing through Asahi for a little while. They have just moved to Tribe in Goulburn because Goulburn said, "We'll do whatever you want." Yeah. But even when they were brewing at Asahi, every single batch they brewed, a sample was sent back to Newtown to test at their lab because Young Henry's did not trust Asahi's lab.
I heard that their lab was actually better than Asahi's.
It is, because that's the thing. They didn't trust Asahi's lab. So their quality's insane.
So, I think Newtown is a strong vote. Number 4, XPA from Boulder. Yep. Again, I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere, and it's really easy to drink. You can just smash like 10 of them, seriously.
Yeah, they've really played on that surf.
Surf
paradise.
Kind of just sitting in the sun, smashing back beers with your mates. Like, they nailed it. And when it came out, when it was released, I think it was 6. What was that? When did it come out? 17? Maybe 16? 16?
15, 16, I think.
16. I think it was my favourite beer for the year. It was just a good beer. It was in cans. It's easy. It's just
the marketing is awesome. Yeah. Again, a lifestyle beer, man. It's 100%.
That's it.
Yeah. When I did a podcast with Sterling and Scotty. So Scotty's their brewer. Sterling's their marketing GM, whatever you call him. He's ex-Billabong GM.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So, it brings that kind of vibe. And the scary thing is if you look at their cans, every single thing on that can and in their marketing has a purpose.
Yeah.
So little things like, I didn't even realise, but if you actually look down on the cans, there's a little smiley face on the top. They're all colour-coded. And they're colour-coded so that when they're in an esky, you can look down on the top of the can and see what it is.
Man, my hand is so cold so often. Like putting it in.
It's like you look at every single thing on their cans and their branding has a purpose. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, that'll be a strong vote in my opinion. Number 5 was Cluster 8. Again, just brings a hype. People, they know it's coming. They want to get it and they buy it and they post it online and it's just people love that beer. It's very popular. Number 6 is the Crankshaft. Again, another easy drinking hobby beer. Number 7, I got the Black Hops Pale. Again, very popular, easy drinking. Number 8, I have Jedi Juice. Now that's actually a bit better than it went last year. I'm gonna throw it up there and say that maybe it's actually a bit more popular than it was last year. We'll see. I don't really know myself. I'm tossing up, but that was a hard one for me to choose. Kaiju, the Kaiju Crush. I'm thinking that's going to be number 9, and number 10. I threw it out there, and I said La Serene Urban Pale Ale. I'm hopeful. Fingers crossed.
They had a great write up in the Telegraph. So you know what? Then they might have had new followers.
Come on,
it's a good. Yeah, stays on the can. That's all I want. Man. I just want like a whole range of can saisons. It's a great beer. I know. Look, that's kind of wishful thinking, but I was kind of torn at number 10. And I also looking at my top 10, they're all hop forward beers. Yeah. They're all smashy. They're all in cans. They're all, they're just, like you said, lifestyle beers, all of them.
Do you find it funny, though, that all the top 10 beers in here are hop forward beers, but the largest consumption of beer is lager?
Really? I didn't know that.
In Australia, it's lager.
Yeah.
In the craft beer industry, in the craft beer world, it's pale.
Yeah.
Which I guess it's interesting. I've got a couple of stats I've read, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens this year. Because I know they've got more votes, and the votes are not coming from the craft beer world, because I think most craft beer people are voting anyway. It's coming from the base of, really interested to see what happens. But
wonder if this trend will continue over the next year or two, hop forward beers being popular. I think that's been the way for a long time.
Well, if you look at the trends in America, which I think Australia follows pretty closely. I'm not going to say exactly, but we do follow pretty closely. Session ales, gone massive. Low alcohol beers. So when we were at a conference earlier in the year, 0%. You know, you just got to look at Carlton, Heineken, Hahn. They're all bringing out 0% beers. I think that is a big moving point this year with like especially health conscious and all that sort of coming out. Another big alcohol one was hard seltzers. So I think you're going to see
White Claws.
Yeah, I think you'll start. There has been breweries starting to do hard seltzers. So whether or not that is eligible for Hottest 100, I don't know. I have seen
actually kombucha. So kombucha is a big thing. Like in America, they've got full-on kombucha breweries. Like there was one that got burnt down from the California fires. Yeah, it's a brewery, and they turned around and become a kombucha brewery.
So really interested to see what kind of happens on that. I guess is that your top 10?
That's my top 10, man.
So I'll run through my top 10 pretty quickly. It's pretty similar to both Kane's and Isaac's, apart from one. Just maybe a bit different order. I've got Pacific Ale from Stone and Wood as my number one. I think there was a stat that came out that the Hottest 100 people that are doing it put out saying that they've got a 30% increase in voters this year, which is fantastic. But for me also to look at that saying those voters aren't coming from high end. That's more coming from baseline drinkers. And for me, I think Pacific Ale will be in their top 5. So I think you're going to see a lot. I think Pack Ale might take out number 1. I've got Boulder XBA. I've got it dropping to number 2. 3 is Newtowner, similar to those other guys. Crankshaft, number 4. Gauge Road Single Fin is a perennial top 10. I don't see that changing. It's everywhere. It's in the Perth Stadium. We don't probably see how much it's drunk over in Perth, and they're putting a lot of money into marketing as well. Kaiju Crush, Bridge Road Beechworth. I've got Boulder Hazy, number 8. I don't see it getting much higher than that, purely just being a limited release. You're not going to get baseline drinkers voting for it because there's just not enough of it. Black Coops Pale, number 9. And my ringer for top 10, because of that increased votes, is Coops Pale.
Yeah, wow.
You know, Cooper's still the largest family-owned brewery in Australia. I think it's also one of the largest family-owned breweries in the world. It's a lot of gateway beer drinkers still. You're also going to get a lot of people whose dads, granddads don't necessarily like craft, but might be pressured into voting or vote for Cooper's. Like I said, if you're increasing that base, I see Cooper's Pale Ale, Pacific Ale, James Squire's 150 Lashes. I think we might see some of those beers a lot higher up than in previous years if we're getting more people voting.
Oh, for sure. And my local bottle store I used to work, when Young Henrys were just starting off, you know, we were one of the first places to get it, you know, and we were getting 5 milk crates a week. And then, you know, I went and spoke to the manager just recently. I'm like, you know, how's things going? How's Young Henry's? We're going through pallets a week. That used to be the Coopers market.
Mm.
So
Coopers also, canned this year.
Yeah.
They did. That was a
big
change.
They've had a really good year in the way that they've brought beers into the market. Coops Red.
Yeah, I'm actually amazed for us. You know, we never really sell much Coopers, but we're selling a fair bit of their XPA cans and whatnot. So
I don't think it'll be people's number 1 choice, but it might be their number 5. And if there's
100%,
you know, 100,000 voters vote for number 5,
I think it could be a ringer for top 10. I guess before we kind of wrap it up, a couple of big kind of changes we kind of went through with Bolter. That, you know, they sold to CUB. Do we see them having a bit of a drop at all?
I don't think so. I don't think that kind of entry-level market that they're hitting will really care. Yeah. I don't, honestly. I just...
Yeah, if it was 2016, yes.
Right,
Yeah. You know, I think we've all matured as drinkers or hobbyists of the craft beer market. We've realised that to really grow the market, you know, it does take some time that you
starts
have
at the bottom.
Yeah, sometimes you have to sell out to get there.
For me, the reason why I put Pacific Ale ahead of Bolter XBA is not because I think Bolter's going to drop, it's because Pacific Ale's going to go up.
Sure.
Yeah. I think more people are going to vote for it last year because you got more people voting, not because Bolter's suffering.
Yeah. Oh, and Bolter they're so nice people, you know. They really are.
Yeah.
Even all their reps, you know, great people to hang out with. You know, they're always friendly. They're willing to help out when you're at a festival. The same with Stone and Wood. Stone and Wood have a whole event kit with like O-rings and everything like that. And the amount of times you run it, like you break an O-ring, you kind of know. You go to Stoner Wood and they, hey guys, got an O-ring? Yes. You know, and same thing with Boulder. Those guys are awesome.
And the other one, which I guess affects Black Ops, but also a potential other few breweries, Dainton, name a few.
Yep.
But crowdfunding for breweries in Australia, really 2019 was another big talking point. Black Ops got some funding. Look, I did a podcast with Dan Norris, one of their co-founders. I think it's about the third or fourth time they've crowdfunded. It was just It was just the first time they've crowdfunded in that manner.
Yeah.
So they used to do a whole lot where it was product based before it became legal, where you'd buy $50 for a case of beer. The beer's not made yet, but you're crowdfunding to make the beer.
Sure.
Yeah. So they've done a whole load of that. We've made them get the extra brewery. Does that brewery kind of affect their results because they've got a lot more production? Do we see more kind of crowdfunding effects in the Hottest 100?
Yeah, I do. I just, on a personal note, I don't get the crowdfunding. I've done it before myself.
Yeah.
And, I would love to have my own, my own business one day. And, I just don't get it. I'm great, and if I was in that shoes and I had that money from the support of my fans, I'm sure it's fantastic. But, does it put yourself in, does it pigeonhole yourself? I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen for breweries, there is that old love for man-owned brewery or, person-owned brewery kind of thing where there is a bit of love for that. But does crowdfunding give you a unreal belief, I guess? You got the money, but you haven't had the sales to back it up.
That's what I'm concerned about. I mean, what happens when these breweries go belly up? That's what happens then. It's all fun and games. I mean, and I agree with you. If you're not making the money,
see, I thought with Black Ops saying I think they actually maybe did have, so I think they might be successful out of it.
Yeah,
it just enabled them to get the bigger brewery to satisfy demand.
Yeah.
But there's some out there that you kind of look at it going, well, are you crowdfunding to survive?
Yeah. And I hope that's not the thing, because this whole industry, every person that I've met, and, I've been in it for coming up 8 years now, are lovely people. Are really lovely people. And they're willing to go the extra mile. When the industry first took off and Young Henry's had, I think it was Young Henry's or Rocks. I think it was Young Henry's who had the slogan "No dickheads."
Yeah.
And I think that's just the core foundation of craft.
Absolutely.
No dickheads, man. Come on, let's make this work.
Well, for 2020 or the 2019 Hottest 100, I think we're going to wrap it up there. But thank you, Kane and Isaac, for coming in and giving us your top fives and what we think is going to happen. You guys got any plans for Australia Day? Or for the 25th, actually? Next Saturday? Looking after your newborn?
Yeah, I got a newborn and a 2-year-old who's mucking up pretty hard. Doesn't like having a sibling and is going to be terrible too. So hopefully sleeping, to be honest.
You got any GABS projects?
I do.
Where are you guys going to be?
We're at the local tap house. So on the 24th we have Ale Stars, Pete and Dave. So Dave is our Wild Workshop head brewer coming over, and then the 25th we are having quite a few beers on tap.
Because if you aren't sure, on the same day when they do the Australian one, they do. Is it the next day?
No. It's about a week or 2 weeks after.
I don't tie it into what time you do.
Yeah, it's around that time.
They do the New Zealand Hottest 100, which Garage Project, how to put it nicely, dominates.
Yeah.
We did. Look, I'd love to see that again, but there's so much good beer in New Zealand.
The only thing is being GABS Hottest 100, and it's, I think a lot of people that vote for the New Zealand one are Australian.
Yeah.
And it's based on the Australian breweries New Zealand breweries that come to Australia.
Yeah.
So I think that might affect some of the results, but you guys are always in for a good
time. It's going to be fun, though. It's always good. New Zealand beers are a little bit more boozier, so it's always fun seeing the top, that top 10 where you normally see pale ales, you see double IPAs.
Yes, absolutely. Well, once again, thank you so much to both Isaac and Kane. If you've got any questions, let us know on our Facebook group, Beer Cartel's Craft Beer Collective. Once again, if you'd like to continue to stay up to date with the latest from the craft beer industry, please hit subscribe at either iTunes Podcast, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcast. That's it for today. I'll see you next time.